right, back again with Heather for our week in review of all the interviews we've been doing for 1623 Studios. Heather, let's start with our Sunday night interview.
Yes, with Dr. Mark Konecki. Mark, we've spoken to him a few times. He is a clinical psychologist in Gloucester, and he is worried about our teenagers. You should listen to the interview. We asked him basically to give us an update on how parents and families are doing after 4 weeks of being socially isolated or socially distanced. And his big message was he's worried about teenagers. This is not supposed to be an antisocial time.
And we've been talking with Mark for the last few weeks about different aspects of how people are being psychologically affected by everything that's going on. So we'll be following up with him shortly.
We will, yeah.
Then you also started off the week by talking with Taylor Bradford, as we always do, of the Gloucester Daily Times.
We did, yeah. And she had one really sweet story about the ducklings that the Gloucester police, the fire department
rescued, yeah.
Right. And she said that this is apparently a common occurrence in the spring when those little baby ducklings have arrived and their mama tries to walk over a sewage grate, and the mama can make it perfectly fine, and the little ducklings fall through.
But all's well that ends well.
Yes, they got rescued by the Gloucester Fire Department, and yes, they were all safe and sound.
Yeah, and of course, you guys can find all this at gloucestertimes.com, or you can go through our archives of videos at 1620 Studios, Facebook, and or our YouTube channel. Then we had a great chat and a walkthrough of the Open Door with Julie LaFontaine.
We did. She is the executive director and CEO of the Open Door, and she was masked as one should be in a public space, and she gave us a tour of the new alterations in the whole Open Door facilities in terms of trying to be safe and socially distanced and provide food to this huge community.
It's amazing. It's provided thousands and thousands of meals now. They had a ton of volunteers there working, so everyone got a little behind-the-scenes glimpse of just the controlled chaos of what they're doing over there, and they're doing like God's work right now. And as are all of our local nonprofits here. So it's been pretty inspiring to watch, and we thank Julie for her time to share that with us because it's a pretty thorough walkthrough. So you guys should check out that video if you have the chance. We also spoke with Beverly Lowe. She's a guidance counselor at Manchester Essex Regional High School about the high school juniors and what they're doing and how they're enduring not only the cancellation of the school year, but the college application process and being affected during 2 different school campaigns as they careen towards adulthood.
Yeah, this might be the group that is maybe the most stressed out by the whole situation. I mean, they're stressed out as teenagers, and they're stressed out because this is really a hinge moment in their lives where they're looking at colleges, they're applying to colleges, they're not applying yet, but they're taking all their tests, they're finishing up their AP work, and it's all been kind of, thrown up in the air and nothing's landed yet. So there's a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, and Bev's great on camera too, so check out that interview if you have a chance. And then, Heather, earlier you also spoke with Susan Clayman and Les Bartlett.
Yes, so announcement here tomorrow, Friday afternoon at noon. Susan Clayman and Les Bartlett will be part of a conversation about arts and climate change. I'm going to leave it at that.
Very
you can
nice.
find a link at Gloucester Cultural Initiative, their Facebook page, if you want to join this Zoom talk.
And speaking of another Zoom talk, the Gloucester Biotechnology Academy is having one this Friday as well. That is at 2 p.m. You can get into that if you can. And they are looking for, it's an info session for students interested in taking one of their classes and actually joining their class. So they're going to give you an A to Z and all that they're a part of. And this is part of GMGI right in downtown Gloucester. They do great work there too. And so Ashley Destino filled us in on all the details. So we have that link there. Her video went up yesterday morning. You can find that pretty easily either on the Bridge Cape Band or 1623's page if you want to be a part of that as well. You don't need to be into science to enjoy what they're doing at the Gloucester Biotech Academy or to sign up for one of their classes, which is great news.
Yeah, and I think it's ages 18 to 26.
Yes.
You don't need a college degree. You can join this Biotech Academy, and these students are doing really interesting work. They're getting placed in internships that are very important, and they're going on to great jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's a great education, actually.
And then you also had another great conversation with Maggie Brennan.
Yes, Maggie talked to us about testing. She is the president and CEO of North Shore Community Health, and they are a federally qualified health center. And they have been asked by Governor Baker, these federally qualified health centers, to really step up and be part of the state's testing approach, or testing initiative. So Maggie talked to us about testing. They've tested everyone, guests and staff in the YMCA shelter. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, everyone has tested negative there. And they're moving to the shelter in Beverly and I think Salem. And they are, those are really important populations to get tested because, just for obvious reasons, and the staff can work there safely, the guests can live there safely. So anyway, they are really upping the testing game in Massachusetts. And she talked to us about that.
And we'll have more on COVID-19 testing in just a second. But first, we then spoke with Deputy Harbor Master for the City of Gloucester, Chad Johnson, about the reopening of the waterways here too and the boat ramps. We knew that was really a hot topic last week, and we were going to see how all of you behave on the water this weekend now that we're expecting some nice weather. So it was really cool talking to Chad, and happy birthday, by the way, Deputy Harbor Master Johnson. And then to get back to the COVID-19 testing, Heather, you and I had a great chat with Fran White and Jona Johansson of MDC Associates. Can you explain what they do?
I will. MDC Associates is a consulting group in Beverly, Massachusetts. They have been around for 30 years, and they consult on companies who are trying to get clinical trials approved. They create clinical trials for devices and medicines and drugs to get them approved by the FDA. They help these companies get these drugs and pharmaceuticals through the regulation process and approved by the FDA. And right now, they are working on a number of COVID-19 tests, both the molecular ones and the serology ones. That means the swab test to see if you are positive or not, and the serology means whether you have the antibodies. So it was a really interesting conversation because who knew this little company, been around for 30 years, is doing this important work in Beverly.
It was a great chat, and now that we've done about 150 of these since the crisis began, Heather, it's cool looking back and just seeing all the new friendships that we've made, even though it's under weird circumstances. But we're having great conversations, and one of our favorites is Erica Brown, the publisher and editor of the Manchester Cricket. We just finished up a conversation with her about all things Manchester by the Sea and Essex, including a follow-up on what's going on in Canomo Point, with water being turned back on there, and citizens of summer residents all trying to get on the same page, and then also talking about how Main Street in Manchester, or really small businesses and restaurants, et cetera, in Manchester, are really being affected by construction as well as the crisis.
Yeah, the crisis is just forcing this conversation to be had about how will our main streets, and particularly in Manchester, survive. They've already been so impacted by online shopping. And now we have this crisis that doesn't allow anyone to go shopping at all downtown. And what will happen to these stores, and how much do we love them? How important are they to a community? So that was a good conversation.
It was. And then we finished up the week speaking with Taylor Bradford of the Gloucester Times once again, who had two great stories, I guess, on either side of the pendulum. One is that Destino's is going to reopen next week, and the other is that new parking kiosks are going to be installed in Gloucester shortly. I think there was a $2.5 million loan that we applied for. I don't know what the hell it was. But anyway, new kiosk. So no fudging the meters anymore. And now all the meters are going to end up working. So that's great news for everyone.
Yeah, if you can figure out how to work it, that's the question.
Yeah.
I mean, I think putting a quarter in a slot is a perfectly fine way to get parking time. But when you have to pull out your phone and download the app and all that, we'll just see who complains about it. We'll see.
And then one of the most fascinating conversations we've had in all of our interviews was with Cape Ann artist and historian Les Bartlett about the 1918 flu epidemic.
It was so interesting. We need to have him on every week. He talked about the fact that there were 900 lives lost and that 2 hospitals were involved, Addison Gilbert and Leonard Haskins Hospital in Rockport. And who were the heroes of that pandemic but the women? because so many young women had to come forward to help out in both these efforts, in both these hospitals, because all the nurses had been sent to Europe for the war. So we really didn't have much nursing staff. They had to send nurses from Canada to work with these people. Anyway, there's so many other details that were so interesting. And I want to point out, I'm kind of proud of this week because we had a little bit of a theme going.
Yeah.
We talked about testing in this current state of affairs with Maggie Brennan. She talked about testing in the shelters nearby. And we had that interesting conversation about developing the COVID-19 tests with Fran White and Jon Johansson. And then we had this conversation about the pandemic. So we're trying to sort of group together some of these interviews as a theme.
We also want to point out that the Walk for Hunger that was scheduled for this Saturday has been canceled, yet you can help out virtually and online as well. We have that link there, Heather?
Yep, we have the link. We will include that. So go to the link. It takes you to the site, and it directs you how to become a virtual walker or join a virtual team. And we have Leanne Offier to thank for that message.
There you go. And Art Week hits Cape Ann next week and runs through May 10th. So keep your eyes open on social media and follow all that stuff appropriately to see how you can enjoy art around Cape Ann. So that's it, Heather. We'll do this all over again next week for folks.